I've always been the afterthought in my family's story. Clara Winters, the daughter, who was never quite enough, standing at my parents' funeral that cold December morning in Boston. I wasn't surprised when Beatrice, my sister, handed me papers to sign 2 days after their car accident. I'd already learned they left everything to her, the Beacon Hill family home, Dad's publishing company, even Mom's jewelry she once promised would be mine. Don't look so surprised, Beatrice said. Dad always said I had the head for business. And you've got your ... What is it you do again? Your little art projects. I'm an illustrator, I corrected her, the same way I had for 15 years. At the wake in what was now Beatrice's home, our neighbor Mrs. Caldwell mentioned I'd be moving out next week, news to me. Later, Beatrice confirmed it. She and Richard, her investment banker husband, were moving in. Clara, she sighed with familiar pity, you're 32 years old. It's time you figured out your own life instead of clinging to Mom and Dad's. The will is clear. Everything goes to me. That night, while packing the few belongings from my converted childhood bedroom, I found a box labeled Clara's Things. Inside was a photo album with pictures of just me, before Beatrice was born, before I became invisible. A small brass key fell from between the pages. When Beatrice saw it, she demanded I hand it over. Her strange reaction made me refuse for once. That evening, I discovered the dresser drawer had a hidden compartment. Inside was an envelope with my name in Dad's handwriting, for Clara, when the time comes. The letter inside, dated 3 weeks before the accident, read, My dearest Clara, the enclosed document is a revised will that supersedes any other will you may have been shown. We have made a terrible mistake in how we've treated you. Influenced by lies and manipulations we only recently discovered. You were never loveless. We were blind, and by the time we saw clearly, the damage was done. This will leave everything to you, Clara, not out of guilt, but because it is right. Beatrice has taken enough. We hope someday you can forgive us. Dad inside was a legal will leaving everything to me, and a second letter detailing years of Beatrice's manipulations, lies she'd told about me, money she'd taken, even evidence she'd intercepted, letters and gifts they'd sent me. By morning, I knew what I had to do. I carefully folded the will and letters and placed them in my bag, ready to face my sister with a truth that could destroy what remained of our family. You're up early, Beatrice said the next morning, already dressed in a cream cashmere sweater and Mom's pearls. When she mentioned the realtor coming to discuss listing options, I froze. I thought you said you were moving in. Richard and I discussed it. This place is too big for us. We're going to sell and build something modern in Cambridge. Something shifted inside me. All my life, I made myself smaller to accommodate Beatrice. But not today. I asked to look through Dad's study, which had always been off limits to me growing up. Beatrice reluctantly agreed. Inside, I found a photograph that had slipped behind a drawer me at my college graduation. According to the second letter, my parents had planned to surprise me there, but Beatrice told them I didn't want them to come. Find anything interesting. Beatrice appeared in the doorway. Just memories. You seem different today. Do I? Less ... pathetic. She said it casually. Usually by now you'd be crying about how unfair everything is. The old Clara would have absorbed this blow. But the letter had changed something fundamental. Maybe I'm finally growing up, I said, meeting her gaze directly. After she left, I headed for the attic. The brass key from the album fit perfectly in Mom's old trunk. Inside were preserved mementos of my childhood, report cards, art competition ribbons, even my acceptance letter to art school that I'd had to decline because suddenly my parents couldn't afford it the same year they bought Beatrice a car. Beneath these was Mom's journal. An entry from 15 years ago revealed that whenever something good was about to happen for me, Beatrice would have an episode that redirected all attention to her. The final entry, dated a month before their deaths, read, The specialist confirmed what we feared. Beatrice has been lying to us about her health, about Clara, about everything. The psychological evaluation shows clear patterns of manipulation. How could we have been so blind? James is meeting with the lawyer tomorrow. We have to make this right before it's too late. What are you doing up here? Beatrice stood at the top of the attic stairs, her face a mask of fury, just looking through some old things. Put that down, she hissed, noticing the journal. That's private. Is it? Or are you afraid of what Mom wrote about you? About your episodes? She lunged for the journal. I stepped back, bumping into my old easel, which crashed between us. According to Mom and Dad's real will, the one they wrote 3 weeks before they died, everything belongs to me. I said, my voice growing stronger. You're lying, she said, but her voice wavered. Should we call their lawyer? Show him the will I found hidden in my bedroom. They weren't thinking clearly. She switched tactics. That wouldn't hold up in court. Maybe not. But their letter explaining how you manipulated them for years might interest a judge. Or our family. No one would believe you, she said coldly. Poor, jealous Clara, always living in her successful sister's shadow. Her words reopened old wounds. But this time, I had evidence. If you do this, she threatened, I'll destroy what little reputation you have. I'll make sure every publisher in Boston knows you're unstable. I stared at her, finally seeing her clearly. Move, Beatrice, or what? Or I'll stop being the invisible daughter. And you don't want to see what happens then. As I descended the attic stairs with the journal, the weight of decades of manipulation began to lift. For the first time, I had proof that I wasn't crazy. I had the truth. Now I just had to decide what to do with it. The next morning, I sat in Mr. Harrington's office, the hidden will and my mother's journal on the desk between us. The elderly lawyer had been my parents' trusted advisor for over 30 years. The will we executed after your parents' death is dated to years ago, but this one was signed just 3 weeks before the accident, he said, comparing the documents. Did you prepare the second will? He shook his head. No, they must have gone to another attorney. He examined the signatures. These are legitimate, legal signatures from Caldwell and Berg, so this will is legal, valid. Assuming the signatures are authentic, yes, this would supersede the earlier will. His expression troubled. He asked, why wasn't this will presented after your parents' deaths? I explained about finding the key and the hidden envelope, and showed him my mother's journal detailing Beatrice's manipulations. If what these documents suggest is true, your sister may have deliberately concealed your parents' final wishes, which is not only unethical, but potentially criminal, he said gravely. But Clara, legal battles between siblings over inheritance can drag on for years, and destroy whatever family bonds remain. What family bonds? I said bitterly. Outside, I received a text from Beatrice. If you're doing what I think you're doing, remember what I said. I will ruin you. The threat only strengthened my resolve. Then my phone rang, an unknown number. My name is Sarah Caldwell. I was one of the witnesses on your parents' revised will, the caller said. Your father came to our firm specifically because he didn't want Mr. Harrington involved initially. He was afraid your sister might find out. We met at her office, Anne. Hour later, where she explained everything. Your father found evidence that Beatrice had been intercepting their communications with you for years. She'd convinced them you were ignoring their attempts to reach out, but why would they believe her? Whenever they tried to contact you directly, Beatrice would create some crisis that demanded their immediate attention. It's a classic pattern of manipulation, and they only realized this 3 weeks before they died. Sarah nodded. Your mother found a box in Beatrice's room, cards and letters you sent them that had never been delivered, gifts from them to you that had never been mailed. They were heartbroken. Clara, they were planning to come see you when the accident happened. She handed me an envelope from my father containing a check for $250,000 and a note. Start the life you deserve. We are so sorry, Clara. We love you. More than you'll ever know. Tears blurred my vision. They had loved me. They had seen the truth. Finally. But it was too late for us to heal together. As I walked back to the house, I knew what I had to do. Beatrice's car was in the driveway, along with the realtor's. I took a deep breath and walked inside, ready to face the sister who had stolen my family. The realtor was just leaving as I entered. Beatrice stood in the living room, wearing Mom's pale blue cashmere sweater. "Where have you been?" she demanded. "I had some errands to run," I said, deliberately casual. "You know, I was thinking about what you said yesterday about me being jealous and living in your shadow, Clara. I don't have time for you were right, in a way. I was jealous. I watched you get everything while I got nothing, and I never understood why." Something flickered across her face, satisfaction, perhaps. But then I found Mom's journal, and the will they wrote 3 weeks before they died, and I talked to Sarah Caldwell today. The color drained from Beatrice's face. "You're bluffing." I played the recording of my conversation with Sarah. "Turn it off," she whispered when it reached the part about the intercepted letters. "It's all true, isn't it? You deliberately destroyed my relationship with them." She sank onto the sofa, her composure breaking. "You don't understand." "You never did. Then help me understand. They loved you more," she burst out. "From the day I was born, all I heard about was how perfect Clara was. I was just ... there. The second child they hadn't planned on. That's not true. They adored you because I made it about me. I had to." Tears streamed down her face. "Do you know what it's like to live with someone like you? So naturally good at everything, so effortlessly lovable." I stared at her, trying to reconcile this version of our childhood with my own memories. The first time I intercepted a birthday card they sent you, it was an accident. Inside was this long, beautiful letter about how proud they were of you. They'd never written anything like that to me, so you kept it. And then you kept more. She nodded. It got easier each time. And when they asked why you never thanked them, it was simple to suggest you were too busy for them. I sat beside her on the sofa, close but not touching. "What happened 3 weeks before they died?" "Mom found everything," she whispered. "The box where I kept the letters, the gifts, everything." She and Dad confronted me. They were so angry, so disappointed. "They said they were changing their will, that they were going to tell you everything." Her voice broke. "I begged them not to. I promised I'd change. But they didn't believe me anymore, and after the accident, I found the new will in Dad's desk. I panicked. I hid it and presented the old one to Mr. Harrington." She looked up at me, her eyes red. "Are you going to take everything from me now?" I'd come into this room ready for justice, ready to reclaim what was rightfully mine. But sitting here, looking at my broken sister, I realized that what I wanted most couldn't be granted by any will or court order. "No," I said finally, "I'm not taking everything. But I'm not walking away with nothing either." I laid out my terms. The house would be sold, and we would split the proceeds. The publishing company would be sold too, with half the money going to establish a foundation in our parents' names to support young artists, the kind of support I never received. And Mom's jewelry would be divided between us, piece by piece, together. "Why?" Beatrice asked, bewildered. "After everything I did, why would you offer this?" "Because I don't want to be defined by what I lost anymore," I said. "And I don't want you to be defined by what you did wrong. We're the only family each other has left. Broken and dysfunctional as we are, I don't deserve your forgiveness," she whispered. "This isn't forgiveness," I clarified. "Not yet. That will take time and therapy for both of us. This is a beginning, a chance to build something new from the ashes of what we lost." As we sat in our parents' living room for what would be one of the last times, I felt something shift between us, not healing, not yet, but an opening. A possibility that the invisible daughter and the desperate sister might someday find a way to see each other clearly without the distorting lens of the past. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined when I found that hidden will. It was messy, more complicated. But as I looked at the check from my father and thought about the life I could now build, the art studio I always dreamed of, the career I could pursue without financial strain, I realized it was the right ending for me. Some inheritances can't be written into wills or divided in probate court. The most valuable things my parents left me were the truth finally revealed and the chance to define myself on my own terms. That was a legacy worth claiming. And what about you? What would you do if you were in Claire's shoes? Would you use the hidden will to take everything that's rightfully yours, exposing your sister's manipulations to the world? Or would you choose the middle path, as she did, seeking a new beginning even after years of betrayal? Perhaps you would take a completely different approach. Was the true inheritance in this story the house, the money, the revealed truth, or Claire's chance to finally define her own worth? Share in the comments what decision you would make and what you consider the most valuable inheritance in this story. Your perspective might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear today.